And we're back. So, yes, getting back to the constant pressure of Haley still wanting to sell. And so, there's an instance where he's having a vulnerable moment and perhaps conversing with his deceased mom. And we realize that she's the one, the creator behind the rules, or rule number, and she says, rule. Remember my rule, baby. Bitches don't just cry, they get even. So Uncle Clifford gets an epiphany and to best combat Haley and her pursuit of selling the pink. Now, at Teek's wake, the opposing gang, the Crips, I'm under the assumption is the Crips, go on social media implying that they're the ones that took care of Teak because they had like some scuffle while Little Murder was on tour, and they took care of him. The culprit here and the one that took him out was Pico. So the elders of this particular gang, which I'm under the impression are the Bloods, let it be known that Little Murder needs to, take care of business. It's not right for this person to take credit or whatever the case may be of how that person passed to kind of spit on their grave. So they're letting him know that even though he's already getting known, that he still has a job to do in defending the gang and defending their family and their brother, who they've now have had to bury, unfortunately. So there's that, and as Mercedes dealing with her unfortunate downfall because of her arm not working, Roulette encourages Whisper to have that sexual tryst with her trick that she had. And again, if you go back to my previous reviews, we know that Roulette was put in that position of having to perform oral sex on this particular person who wasn't just satisfied with her being naked in the champagne room, but because he laid down money, she did it. And in a way was kind of offended that she had to work to get that money, but Whisper can just lay back and get it done to her and she would be paid equally. So, but he keeps insisting, and she convinces her. It's like, this is fast and easy money. What are we going to do? And we're going to just be there past our prime like Mercedes and Agent and her, I hate saying it, but again, my channel isn't for children. Having your coochie hair turn all gray. so somehow it kind of clicks for them like, yeah, we won't be young forever. And so whatever we can pull now, we should just take full advantage of. So Shell finds herself finding out about Terrica's abortion and forces Terrica to drive to Mercedes. And while Mercedes was in the middle of rehearsal, but in the middle of all this mess, bails because she has to now defend the action that was taken, and also to make it known that Shell just hasn't been a parental figure for the longest since the pandemic started, and that Terrica should honestly stay with her. But there's an instance here because now we're seeing also they're both being territorial, just for the simple fact that Mercedes is the biological mother, but Shell has done the work for the last 14 years. So there's an instance where the poor child is put between a rock and a hard place, and they're fighting over her and the action that she took, near berating each other and cutting each other down in front of Terrica. And Terrica was like, Mom, and they both go, what? So, but Shell lets it be known, like, oh, because now you're with her, you're there for her one time, now you claim that you're her mother. Not knowing the history of that, that's a really annoying, because knowing that what she hasn't done and bent over backwards to attain custody of that child, and always being met with some opposition, some wrench being thrown at her, pretty low on Shell's part. But again, she has done the work, the legwork. But Terica decides to take her home and just deal with what the circumstance she's dealing with. So she leaves. She leaves Mercedes home. Uncle Clifford meets with Corbin to discuss alternatives to the looming casino. Casino. I love how everybody here pronounces things. It's like casino. And the possibility of not having the casino move forward at the Pink. There are instances there where they're talking about how, and he mentions his grandmother and says that, the last lesson or rule that she gave me was that if you can't get to the water, have the water come to you. Or that how water can be unruly or has memory. I mean, there's so many instances and what's the word I'm looking for? Metaphors here that is just refreshing. This is why scripted shows are so necessary. It is not reality TV. Sorry, don't want to downplay reality television. I think it has opened doors, especially when it comes to casting people of color, but I feel like we still need our scripted shows. We do. It really is art. So yeah, Whisper decides to go along with Roulette's trick situation and head to a random motel where he could do his thing, lay it down on her, and she get paid. Easy money is the incentive. And yeah, of course, a little bit of snow candy to kind of ease the anxieties. And so as he walks in, he thinks he's gonna have a 2-for-1, and Roulette lets it be known, no, you pay, you get what you pay for, and that's to do what you got to do your business there, but I ain't leaving. And she made it very clear that she, regardless of how she may have felt about Whisper from the very beginning, she still has her back, and that she's willing to stay in the room to not allow any funny business to happen. And though he's uncomfortable, like, what? But he deals with it because he still wants what he wants. So, and so as she's being pleased, Roulette is playing Candy Crush in the bathroom and whatnot. And so we move forward to the next scene. Haley and Andre have a heart-to-heart as well. Haley visits him. And they have open discussion about her past and how that she was abandoned, that she wished she would have known about her parents' whereabouts. I think she was just given up for adoption and then not given any leads of who her parents were. So even though Andre is dealing with the past that he's dealing with, he at least knows who his father is. So they're both about to kind of like get back into the whole sexy romp thing, where she gets an epiphany as well, and then realizes that the best way, she figures out a way to connect to constituents, and is quick to call the workers from the Pink, and says that you got to meet me, we're in the middle, we're about to do this. And she thought, and honestly, I think it did help when it came to likability of Andre with the constituents, And this happened even during the last election when we were trying to desperately get Biden in the office. And that's why he is in office, because of the encouragement of the people, of black women, of the South, who made it possible. So again, reality art, paying homage to reality and how it was so closely related. So there's that. So going back to Whisper and her trick, and her getting her supposed rocks off, he disrespects her towards the end. Post her climaxing, and she's expecting to be paid. He's $200 short. And she's like, what happened here? We promised you, we agreed that it would be for this amount. And so, of course, he starts, berating her in true shitty, arrogant manner and saying that, if she moaned right, and if you weren't so whack, I'd give you the money. But that's what, like, almost as that's what she deserves, and throws it to her on the floor like she's just nothing, garbage, human garbage. So Roulette comes out and storms out and is like, what? It's like, you give her what you promised her. And then all of a sudden he gets aggressive and nasty. And of course, Whisper's gonna defend her. So it's like, oh, now you know how to work that tongue. So he chokes her. And almost to the point where he was, gonna choke her out. And Roulette is so quick to pull out a caliber, and so she lives up to her stage name, Roulette, because they start playing Russian roulette, and it's not a willing game. It's not a consensual game. She makes it known, like, okay, so let's see. And then she points it to him, and it's a very intense scene. Again, we're seeing a lot of this, but this is just like great, captivating story writing and storytelling. And what we're seeing here, again, there's the way that the show is shot is very reminiscent to like the horror movies that we've been introduced to in the last couple of years, like very Jordan Peele, very Donald Glover. That you don't know what you're getting into. You're kind of like, oh wow, this really went left. And even though Whisper was kind of like shocked at the beginning, like, what are you doing? She's very spiritual and, one with nature. But she realizes that this man was trying to take advantage of her and to berate her. And so she is quick to flip the switch and starts, so all of a sudden they're a tag team. And she's like, get on your knees. And she kind of grabs him. And she had gotten him naked too to make him vulnerable. And then Roulette puts him in the position that he had put her in. And now she had complete and utter control. So they take everything. They totally leave him penniless and no clothes, totally naked. And Ed took his car and left running. So it's a wild scene, very reminiscent of A24 productions like Zola. And how that life has a tendency to get very, very awkward and horrible, and has twists and turns just for survival purposes. You think that it's one thing, and then you find yourself in another state where you weren't anticipating that. So very interesting. And I just want to make props to the actress who plays Roulette, Gail Bean. Talented young woman. And wow, she really is able to translate these very intense scenes. Well, you don't know. You really don't know. Is she serious? Is there really just one bullet? She keeps the way she kept at it the entire time. Very intense scene. So what we know of is that she is able to take it to a body shop where her new beau Duffy, played by Dominic DeVour. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing it, but he's gorgeous. And that's the plug. That's the plug also for the pink, for them pills with Big L. But and since Gidget has dropped out of the club, and I feel like Gidget might be back for the third season. I'm just to cause conflict there, but they have some intense scenes too, and I'm not gonna lie, that boy is gorgeous. So but he does it for her. He is able to just kind of pull the car apart of this trick, so just in case he goes looking for his car, sells the parts. And he's like, you sure this person isn't gonna come looking for it? And it's like, you know what it is. And towards the end of that scene, we see her look at the gun, and it did indeed have a bullet in its inside. So Lives up to her name, and that is no lie. How she lives her life, at least this character, and made for great TV viewing. So yes. Now, the name for the title of this episode is Death Drop, and it lives up to its name, just like Roulette lived up to her name. Little Murder lives up to his name. He's still, battling depression and grief, and he hasn't been able to be completely honest with Clifford. So he does what he's told and meets up with Pico, stalks him, is dressed just like them so that he's not detected, meets him in some dark alley. Pico is like, well, I didn't mean